with that as the backdrop, and Elise, I appreciate it, and stay with me if you want to pipe up in this conversation. Karen Finney is with me here on set. She is the senior spokeswoman for the Clinton campaign. Karen Finney, thank you so much for coming by.
Great to be here.
So, let me just begin with,
sure,
because I'm sure you have maybe some words about the New York Times.
Some thoughts.
We're CNN, so I want to keep this focused if I can.
Sure.
Listen, if Hillary Clinton was saying she did not know that those certain classified emails were indeed classified, if they were marked that way, my first question is, someone did designate them classified.
Well,
who would that be?
So let me take a step back, and then I'll get to that. So the reason we're here is because the New York Times was essentially fed a story, we believe, from congressional Republicans. They went with it, and then today, piece by piece, as information has come out, it's been corrected. You have the DNI, you have Congressman Elijah Cummings, who's the ranking member on the committee, as well as the Department of Justice, all saying that the New York Times story was wrong. There is no criminal investigation.
Okay, let's move past the New York Times story.
No, it's important, though. So
I understand.
Then, in terms of classification, and this is the other piece of this, this is essentially, the State Department just had their briefing, and essentially, I think where we're at is when the decision is made. So Hillary said, "I want my emails released." So they're going through a process of reviewing and then making them public. In that process, another department can weigh in and say, "We now want to classify this information." So you have one intelligence agency saying, "Hey, that information should have been classified," and the State Department, as they just said a couple hours ago, saying, "We don't consider that to be classified information." So at the time she sent it, it wasn't classified, and people have been clarifying that. And yet another agency is saying they think it is. But
so who dropped the ball in not classifying these emails?
It's a disagreement. I mean, at this point, it's a disagreement between two agencies about what should or should not be. But here's the thing: within that sort of disagreement, again, I think the congressional Republicans have exploited that to attack Hillary again, rather than, she has said, "If you've got questions for me since last November,
but this
I will come and answer the questions."
She had a private server, Karen Finney.
No, it did not,
actually.
Server. That's not the reason. That's not what happened. It is, again.
Explain it for me.
So, if she had sent remember that there's two ways that you can send emails at the State Department. There is a classified system and a non-classified system. Again, remember, from the State Department's perspective, at the time the email was sent, it was not classified. So even if she would have sent it on a .gov non-classified system...
So who screwed up?
I don't know the answer to that, because there's so many pieces of information that we don't really know. And again, the New York Times kind of went with stuff without actually even seeing the documents they were talking about. So again, I think this is why we have to let the facts play out and not get ahead of the facts, as Hillary was just saying.
Elise Labott, let me just pivot and turn to you, because I know you've been all in this all day. You have a question for Karen?
Well, look, I think it's a legit argument that, it is necessarily about the State Department's classification, and this would have taken place if the Secretary was operating on a State Department network. But, I think the question that's raised is, clearly this was sensitive information that was being passed around on a private server, whether it was considered classified or not. The question is, should this have been done on a classified server? And I think that's what the intelligence community is saying here. This was all done on a private server that they don't have access to, and that, classified information could be compromised on something that the government doesn't have access to.
You have 30 seconds, Robert.
Actually, the letter that I saw that was released by Congressman Cummings' office was talking about the process of releasing the information, the process of classifying or declassifying the information, not what server the email was on. They're disagreeing about pieces of information. Should it be classified? Should it not be classified? Again, thanks to the Republicans on the Hill and the very motivated attacks on Hillary, here we are yet again correcting a story.
We have to leave it, ladies. Karen Finney, thank you for coming by. Elise Labott, thank you.